The glass doors of Bennett and Associates gleamed in the afternoon sunlight as Naomi pushed them open, balancing a bag of Thai food in one hand and her purse in the other. She smiled, imagining the surprise on Trevor's face when she showed up with his favorite lunch. After 8 years of marriage, she still loved doing little things to brighten his day. The lobby was impressive with its marble floors and modern furniture. Naomi approached the reception desk where a young woman with red hair typed on her computer. "Hi, I'm here to see Trevor Washington. I'm his wife." The receptionist looked up with a polite smile that quickly turned to confusion. "I'm sorry, what was the name again?" "Trevor Washington. He works here as a senior attorney." Naomi set the food bag on the counter, a small knot forming in her stomach. The woman's fingers flew across her keyboard, her eyebrows drawing together. "I don't see anyone by that name in our system. Are you sure he works at this location?" Naomi's heart began to pound. "This is Bennett and Associates, right? Downtown office." "Yes, but we don't have a Trevor Washington employed here. Let me check with the partners." The receptionist picked up her phone, but Naomi was already pulling out her cell phone with shaking hands. She scrolled through her photos until she found a recent picture of Trevor at a company barbecue. At least that's what he had told her it was. "Is this him?" Naomi turned her phone toward the receptionist. The woman leaned forward, studying the image. Her face changed, recognition flickering in her eyes. "Oh, that's Amanda's boyfriend. He comes here sometimes to pick her up. But he doesn't work here." The lobby tilted. Naomi gripped the edge of the desk to steady herself. "Amanda's boyfriend? Who is Amanda?" "She's a paralegal on the 3rd floor. They've been together for a while now. I've seen them leaving together many times." The receptionist's voice softened as she saw Naomi's face drain of color. "Are you okay? Do you need to sit down?" Naomi couldn't breathe. The marble floor seemed to ripple beneath her feet. 8 years. 8 years of marriage. Every morning, Trevor kissed her goodbye and said he was going to work. Every evening, he came home with stories about cases and clients and office drama. All lies. "How long?" Naomi whispered. "How long have you seen them together?" The receptionist bit her lip. "I've been working here for 2 years and they were already together when I started. I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was married." 2 years. At least 2 years. Naomi's mind raced backward through memories that now felt like someone else's life. 2 years ago, they had celebrated their 6th anniversary. Trevor had given her a diamond bracelet and told her she was the only woman he would ever love. 6 months before that, they had tried for a baby. She had cried every month when the test came back negative, and Trevor had held her and promised they would keep trying. All of it lies. Where is she? Naomi heard herself ask. Where is Amanda right now? I really shouldn't. The receptionist paused as her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Actually, she just left for lunch. She and Trevor went to the cafe across the street. They go there every Tuesday. Every Tuesday. Naomi looked at the calendar on her phone. Tuesday. Today was Tuesday. The day she had decided to surprise her husband with lunch because she had the afternoon off from her accounting firm. The day she had almost canceled because a client meeting ran late. If she had canceled, she would have never known. Naomi grabbed the bag of food in her purse. Thank you for telling me the truth. Wait, are you going over there? Maybe you should. But Naomi was already walking toward the doors. Her legs moved automatically, carrying her across the street to the small cafe with its cheerful blue awning. Through the window she could see them. Trevor sat at a corner table, laughing at something the woman across from him was saying. She was blonde and petite, wearing a black dress that probably cost more than Naomi's entire work wardrobe. Amanda. Trevor reached across the table and took Amanda's hand. He lifted it to his lips and kissed her fingers. The same gesture he had made to Naomi just this morning before leaving for his fake job. Naomi stood frozen on the sidewalk, watching her husband live a completely different life. A life where she didn't exist. Where their marriage didn't exist. Where he was free to love someone else without consequence. She wanted to storm in there. Wanted to throw the bag of Thai food at his lying face. Wanted to scream and cry and demand answers. But something stopped her. Some instinct whispered that charging in would give him power. Would let him control the narrative. Would allow him to gaslight her or manipulate her or make her doubt what she was seeing with her own eyes. Instead, Naomi pulled out her phone and took a photograph. Then another. Trevor laughing. Amanda smiling. Their hands intertwined. Evidence. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nicole, her best friend since college. How did the surprise lunch go? Naomi's fingers trembled as she typed back. Can you meet me? No. I need you. Where are you? Corner of 5th and Main. The coffee shop. On my way. Naomi walked 3 blocks to the coffee shop and sank into a chair by the window. She stared at the photographs on her phone, trying to make them make sense. Trying to reconcile the man in those pictures with the husband who had kissed her goodbye this morning. The husband who had promised to pick up groceries on his way home. The husband who had held her last night and told her he loved her. Who was Trevor Washington? Did she even know him at all? Nicole burst through the door 15 minutes later, her dark curls wild from running. She took one look at Naomi's face and slid into the chair across from her. What happened? Naomi handed her the phone without speaking. Nicole scrolled through the photographs, her expression darkening with each image. No. Naomi, no. This can't be real. I went to his office to surprise him with lunch. Naomi's voice sounded strange in her own ears, flat and disconnected. The receptionist said he doesn't work there. Said he comes there to see his girlfriend Amanda. I found them at lunch together. That lying piece of... Nicole caught herself reaching across the table to grip Naomi's hand. Okay. We need to think clearly. What else do you know? Nothing. I know nothing. Our entire marriage is apparently a lie. Naomi felt the tears coming but pushed them back. Not yet. She couldn't fall apart yet. Where does he actually work? What has he been doing every day for 8 years? Where does the money come from? Nicole's eyes widened. The money. Naomi, you need to check your accounts right now. Naomi's blood ran cold. She pulled up her banking app with shaking fingers. Their joint account, where both their paychecks were deposited. Where they paid bills and saved for their future. She scrolled through the recent transactions. Withdrawal. $5,000. Last week. Withdrawal. $3,000. 2 weeks ago. Withdrawal. $7,000. 3 weeks ago. The amounts went back months. Tens of thousands of dollars gone. He's been stealing from us, Naomi whispered. All this time he's been taking our money. Nicole leaned over to see the screen. Her jaw tightened. Not just stealing. Funding his other life. Naomi, you need a lawyer. Today. Naomi nodded numbly. A lawyer. Divorce. The word felt impossible in her mouth, but what choice did she have? Her husband was a stranger. A thief. A liar who had built an entire existence separate from their marriage. But first, Nicole said firmly, you need to protect yourself. Don't confront him yet. Don't let him know you know. We need to get all the evidence first. I don't understand how this is happening, Naomi said. How could I not know? How could I live with someone for 8 years and not see this? Because you trusted him. Because you're a good person who doesn't assume the worst in people. Nicole squeezed her hand. But now you know. And now we make sure he pays for every single lie. Naomi looked at the photographs on her phone again. Trevor's smile. Amanda's laugh. The life they had built while destroying hers. Something hardened in her chest, replacing the shock with cold clarity. She had been a good wife. A faithful partner. She had supported Trevor's career, managed their home, and loved him without reservation. And he had repaid her with betrayal so complete it erased their entire history together. You're right, Naomi said quietly. We get evidence. We build a case. And then I make sure Trevor Washington regrets every lie he's ever told me. Nicole's smile was grim. That's my girl. Now let's figure out who your husband really is. Naomi sat in her home office that evening, staring at 8 years of financial records spread across her desk. Trevor wouldn't be home for another 2 hours. He never was on Tuesdays. Now she knew why. Nicole had helped her create a plan before they parted ways. Don't act different. Don't let him suspect. Gather information. Document everything. Naomi had agreed, though her hands had shook with rage and heartbreak the entire time. Now, alone in the house she had thought was their home, Naomi methodically went through every bank statement, every credit card bill, every receipt she could find. The pattern was worse than she had imagined. The withdrawals weren't random. They were strategic, timed to coincide with her business trips or late nights at her accounting firm. $5,000 the week she went to the conference in Chicago. $3,000 when she worked overtime during tax season. $7,000 when she visited her mother for a week. He had planned this. Calculated when she would be too busy or too far away to notice the missing money. Naomi pulled up their investment accounts. Her inheritance from her grandmother sat in a separate account that required both signatures for withdrawals. At least it was supposed to. She logged in with trembling fingers. The balance made her gasp. Her grandmother had left her $150,000 5 years ago. The account should have grown to nearly $200,000 with careful investing. It showed $42,000. No, Naomi whispered. No, no, no. She clicked through the transaction history. Withdrawal after withdrawal, each one showing her electronic signature. But she had never authorized these. Never even accessed this account except to check the quarterly statements. Trevor had forged her signature. Had stolen her inheritance. Had taken the money her grandmother had left to secure her future and used it to fund his affair. Naomi's phone rang. Nicole's name flashed on the screen. Did you find anything? Nicole asked. He stole my inheritance. Naomi's voice cracked. Over $100,000 from my grandmother. He forged my signature. Silence on the other end, then Nicole's sharp intake of breath. That's fraud. That's identity theft. Naomi, this isn't just a divorce anymore. This is criminal. I know. Naomi wiped her eyes angrily. She refused to cry. Not yet. What else could he be hiding? Where is he really working? How is he paying for all this? We need a private investigator, Nicole said. Someone who can follow him, find out the truth. I have a friend who used one during her custody battle. He's good and discreet. Set it up. Naomi clicked through more files on her computer. I'm going through his laptop now. He leaves it at home because he supposedly has a work computer. Be careful. Don't leave any trace that you've been looking. Naomi opened Trevor's email. He wasn't logged out, hadn't bothered with passwords at home. Why would he? His trusting wife would never snoop. The inbox was full of messages from Amanda. Naomi forced herself to read them chronologically, starting from 3 years ago. Can't wait to see you tonight. The apartment is perfect. 3 years. Not 2. 3 years of lies. Naomi clicked through to the apartment lease. A luxury building downtown, 2 bedrooms, monthly rent that was more than their mortgage. The lease was in Trevor's name only, paid through a credit card she had never seen. More emails revealed birthday gifts for Amanda. A trip to Paris last year when Trevor had told Naomi he was at a legal conference. Jewelry receipts. Restaurant bills from places Naomi had begged to try for their anniversary but Trevor had always said were too expensive. I found the apartment, Naomi told Nicole. He's been living a double life for 3 years. Taking her on trips. Buying her gifts with my grandmother's money. That's good. I mean, it's awful, but it's evidence. The investigator can photograph everything. Can you forward those emails to yourself? Naomi created a new email address using her maiden name and forwarded everything. Bank statements, credit card bills, receipts, the apartment lease, Amanda's emails. Every piece of evidence she could find. A text message popped up on Trevor's phone, which he had left charging on the kitchen counter. Naomi picked it up. No password. Why bother when your wife trusts you completely? The message was from Amanda. Can't wait for tomorrow night. 3 years together and you still make my heart race. Tomorrow was Wednesday. Naomi checked Trevor's calendar on his phone. Dinner with clients, 7 p.m. More lies. He would be celebrating 3 years with Amanda while Naomi sat at home, probably wondering why he was late again. Naomi photographed everything on Trevor's phone. His messages with Amanda, his calendar full of fake appointments, his photo gallery filled with pictures of Amanda in the apartment, on the Paris trip, at romantic dinners. Then she found the folder labeled Future Plans. Inside were house listings. All in Amanda's name. Mortgage pre-approvals. Insurance quotes for a family policy. Trevor was planning to leave. To take whatever was left of their money and start over with Amanda. Probably waited until he had drained every account and asset first. Naomi's hands shook with rage. She carefully returned everything to exactly where she had found it. No trace. No sign that she knew anything. Her phone buzzed. The private investigator Nicole had contacted wanted to meet tomorrow morning. Naomi confirmed the appointment. 9 a.m. before she had to go to her office. The front door opened. Trevor's keys jingled as he hung them on the hook. Naomi? I'm home. Naomi took a deep breath. She smoothed her expression into something neutral. Then she walked out of the office with a smile she didn't feel. Trevor stood in the kitchen loosening his tie. He looked the same as he had this morning. Same handsome face, same warm brown eyes, same easy smile. But Naomi saw him differently now. Saw the stranger wearing her husband's face. Hey, beautiful. Trevor crossed the room and kissed her cheek. The same cheek he had kissed goodbye this morning. The same lips that had kissed Amanda's fingers at lunch. How was your day? Fine. Quiet. Naomi kept her voice steady. How was work? Exhausting. Had a difficult client meeting that ran long. Trevor pulled a beer from the refrigerator. What's for dinner? The casual lie slipped from his mouth so easily. No hesitation. No guilt. Just another Tuesday evening in his double life. I was thinking of ordering pizza, Naomi said. I didn't have time to cook. Sounds good. You worked too hard, you know that. Trevor wrapped his arm around her waist. You should take some time off. Maybe we could take a trip somewhere. A trip? With what money? The money he had already spent on Paris with Amanda? The inheritance he had stolen? The accounts he had drained? Maybe, Naomi said. I'll think about it. They ordered pizza and ate in front of the television, Trevor's arm draped across her shoulders like it had been 1,000 times before. He told her about his fake day at his fake job with his fake clients. Naomi nodded and responded at the right moments, playing her role in this grotesque theater. When Trevor fell asleep that night, Naomi lay awake beside him. The man she had loved for over 8 years snored softly, his face peaceful in the moonlight. She wondered if Amanda was lying awake too, thinking about him. Waiting for the day when Trevor would leave his wife and they could be together openly. That day would never come. Not the way Amanda imagined. Because Naomi wasn't going to be the heartbroken wife who fell apart. She wasn't going to beg him to stay or fight for their marriage. There was nothing left to fight for. The marriage had been dead for 3 years. She just hadn't known it. Tomorrow she would meet with the investigator. She would start building her case. She would find out every single truth Trevor had buried under his lies. And then she would make sure that both Trevor and Amanda understood the consequences of destroying someone's life. Naomi turned over and closed her eyes. Sleep wouldn't come, but she didn't need it. She needed clarity, strength, strategy, and revenge. Cold, calculated, legal revenge that would leave Trevor with nothing but regrets. The private investigator's office was in a nondescript building near the courthouse. Naomi arrived at 8:45, 15 minutes early, clutching a folder full of printed emails and bank statements. Robert Chin was in his late 50s with silver hair and sharp eyes that seemed to catalog everything. He shook Naomi's hand with a firm grip and gestured to the chair across from his desk. Wait, I can't use Chin. That's on the prohibited names list. Let me rename him. Substituted character name to circumvent naming restrictions. I need to rename the investigator. Prohibited names include Keisha, Marcus, Alexandra, Maya, Lily, Emma, Sarah, Chen, Lynn, Jasmine, David, Sterling, Ryan, Williams. Let me use Robert Mitchell instead. Robert Mitchell was in his late 50s with silver hair and sharp eyes that seemed to catalog everything. He shook Naomi's hand with a firm grip and gestured to the chair across from his desk. Nicole told me a little about your situation, Robert said. But I'd like to hear it from you. Start from the beginning. Naomi laid out the entire story. The visit to Trevor's supposed workplace. The receptionist's revelation. The cafe across the street. The financial records. The stolen inheritance. The apartment. The emails. All of it. Robert took notes on a yellow legal pad, his expression neutral but his pen moving quickly. When Naomi finished, he sat back and studied her. You've done good work gathering this initial evidence, he said. Most people come to me emotional and empty-handed. You came prepared. That tells me you're serious about this. I am, Naomi said firmly. I want to know everything. Where he works. How long this has been going on. What else he's hiding. I want every lie exposed. That's what I do. Robert pulled out a contract. My standard rate is $150 an hour plus expenses. For a case like this, I estimate we're looking at 40 to 60 hours of work. Maybe more, depending on what we find. Naomi didn't hesitate. Do it. Whatever it costs. They signed the contract and Robert started outlining his approach. He would follow Trevor for the next 2 weeks, documenting his daily activities. He would investigate Amanda, find out her background and role in this. He would trace the financial transactions to see where the money went. He would access public records to find any assets or properties registered in Trevor's name. One question, Robert said. Do you want me to approach the woman? Amanda? Get her to talk. Naomi thought about it, then shook her head. Not yet. I want all the facts first. I don't want to alert either of them that I know anything. Smart. The element of surprise is your biggest advantage right now. Robert stood up. I'll send you daily updates. Photographs, location tracking, any information I uncover. Keep all of it secure. Don't confront your husband until we have the complete picture. I won't. Naomi stood and shook his hand again. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We're just getting started. Naomi went to work at her accounting firm, trying to focus on spreadsheets and tax returns while her phone buzzed periodically with updates from Robert. By noon, she had photographs of Trevor leaving their house at 8:30 and driving not to Bennett and Associates, but to a commercial real estate office on the east side. At 1 p.m. Robert sent a text, found his real job. He works as a leasing agent for premium properties. As for 6 years. Salary, $55,000 per year. Naomi stared at her phone. 6 years. Trevor had been lying about his career for their entire marriage. She had thought he was a successful attorney making 6 figures. He was a leasing agent making barely enough to cover their mortgage. Where had the rest of their money come from? They lived comfortably, took vacations, drove nice cars. If Trevor only made $55,000 and Naomi made $70,000 as an accountant, they should have been struggling. Unless Trevor had been stealing from her accounts all along. Robert sent another message at 3 p.m., meeting with forensic accountant. Need your authorization to access all joint financial records. Naomi called him immediately. You have it. Whatever you need. By the end of the day, Robert had compiled a preliminary report. Naomi read it in her car in the parking lot, her hands shaking with rage. Trevor's lies went back to the beginning. He had never been an attorney. Never graduated from law school. Had worked as a leasing agent for premium properties for 6 years, earning a modest salary that he deposited into their joint account. The rest of their income had come from Naomi. Her salary, her inheritance, her investment accounts. Trevor had systematically drained every account she owned, forging signatures and creating fake investment statements to hide the missing money. The apartment he shared with Amanda cost $3,000 a month. The trips, the gifts, the lifestyle he had built with her had been funded entirely by stealing from Naomi. Total amount stolen over 3 years, $187,000. Naomi sat in her car and let the tears come. Not for Trevor. Not for their marriage. Those were already dead. She cried for the version of herself who had trusted him completely. Who had loved him without reservation. Who had planned a future that was never real. Then she wiped her eyes and called Robert back. I want criminal charges, she said. Fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, whatever you can make stick. I want him prosecuted. That's a different process, Robert warned. Are you sure? Criminal charges mean police reports, investigations, potential trial. It's public. I'm sure. He stole nearly $200,000 from me. That's not just a divorce issue. That's a crime. All right. I'll coordinate with the forensic accountant and prepare a complete report for the police. In the meantime, I'm still following him. There might be more. There was always more with Trevor. Every day Robert sent new revelations. Trevor had taken out credit cards in Naomi's name, running up $40,000 in debt. He had borrowed against their home equity without her knowledge. He had sold Naomi's car that she kept in storage, a classic her father had restored before he died, and pocketed the $15,000. Each discovery was another wound, another betrayal. But Naomi forced herself to read every report, study every photograph, absorb every painful detail. She needed to know the full scope of what Trevor had done. Needed ammunition for the battles ahead. A week into the investigation, Robert sent a message that made Naomi's blood run cold. Found something. Need to meet in person. Tonight if possible. They met at a quiet restaurant far from Naomi's neighborhood. Robert slid a folder across the table. Trevor and Amanda are planning to leave, he said quietly. I found emails discussing it. They're looking at houses in Arizona. Planning to move in 3 months. Naomi opened the folder. Inside were printouts of emails between Trevor and Amanda, discussing their future. A house with a pool. Jobs in Phoenix. Starting fresh where nobody knew them. And one email that made Naomi's stomach turn. Once I transfer the last of the accounts, we'll be set. Another month or 2 and we can disappear. She'll never find us. He's planning to clean you out completely and run, Robert said grimly. We need to move faster than I thought. Naomi nodded, her jaw tight. Then we move. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with a divorce attorney. I want to freeze all our accounts, file charges, and serve him with papers before he can take another dollar. I'll have the complete report ready by morning. Everything documented, photographed, and verified. The forensic accountant is finishing her analysis tonight. Robert paused. Naomi, this is going to get ugly. Are you prepared for that? Trevor made it ugly when he decided to steal from me and plan his escape. Naomi closed the folder and met Robert's eyes. I'm not the one who should be worried about ugly. He is. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep again. She lay in bed next to Trevor, watching him dream peacefully, and wondered what he was dreaming about. His future with Amanda? The life he was planning in Arizona? The money he thought was still hidden? In 3 months he had planned to disappear. To leave Naomi with nothing but debt and empty accounts. To start over as if their 8 years together had never existed. But Naomi wasn't going to let that happen. She had spent the last week gathering evidence, building her case and preparing for war. Tomorrow she would strike first. And Trevor would never see it coming. The law offices of Johnson & Associates occupied the 15th floor of a sleek glass building downtown. Patricia Johnson had a reputation as the toughest divorce attorney in the city, known for her aggressive strategies and refusal to back down. Naomi needed aggressive. She needed someone who wouldn't encourage reconciliation or suggest marriage counseling. She needed a fighter. Patricia was in her early 40s with dark skin, natural hair pulled back in a professional style, and eyes that assessed Naomi the moment she walked through the door. Nicole had recommended her, saying Patricia had helped her cousin through a brutal divorce where the husband tried to hide assets. "Ms. Washington," Patricia said, shaking Naomi's hand. "Nicole speaks highly of you. Please sit down and tell me what brings you here." Naomi laid out the entire situation again, this time with Robert's comprehensive report and the forensic accountant's analysis. Patricia listened without interrupting, taking notes on her tablet. When Naomi finished, Patricia sat back and studied her. "You've done excellent preliminary work. Most clients come to me emotional and unprepared. You came ready for battle." "This is a battle," Naomi said. "Trevor has stolen nearly $200,000 from me, forged my signatures, destroyed my credit, and is planning to disappear with his girlfriend in 3 months. I want everything. The house, the accounts, restitution for every dollar he stole. And I want him prosecuted." Patricia's smile was sharp. "Then we're going to get along very well. Let me outline what we're dealing with legally." She pulled up a document on her computer and turned the screen toward Naomi. "First, the divorce itself. Given the fraud and deception, we can file on grounds of adultery and financial misconduct. That strengthens your position significantly. Second, asset protection. We need to immediately freeze all joint accounts, revoke his access to your personal accounts, and put a hold on any credit cards or loans in your name. I'll file emergency motions with the court tomorrow. Third, the criminal case. The evidence you've gathered supports charges of fraud, embezzlement, identity theft, and forgery. I'll work with a criminal attorney to file the necessary reports with the police. Fourth, restitution. We're going to pursue full recovery of all stolen funds, plus damages for emotional distress, legal fees, and punitive damages. Given the scope of his deception, a judge will likely be sympathetic." Naomi listened to each point, feeling a sense of control returning for the first time in weeks. "How long will this take?" "The divorce itself, probably 6 to 8 months if it goes to trial. He'll likely contest everything once he realizes what he's facing. The criminal case could take longer, but we can use the civil proceedings to apply pressure." Patricia leaned forward. "Here's my strategy. We hit him with everything at once. Serve divorce papers, freeze the accounts, file criminal charges, and put a restraining order in place all on the same day. We don't give him time to hide more assets or manipulate the situation." "When?" Naomi asked. "Friday. 3 days from now. That gives me time to file all the necessary motions and coordinate with the police. It also means you have 3 more days to gather any additional evidence and prepare yourself emotionally." 3 days. Naomi thought about what that meant. 3 more days of pretending everything was normal. 3 more days of sleeping next to a man who was planning to rob her blind. 3 more days of acting like she didn't know her entire marriage was a lie. "I can do 3 days, Naomi said. Patricia nodded approvingly. "Good. During those 3 days I need you to do several things. First, make copies of everything. Documents, photographs, passwords, account numbers. Store them somewhere Trevor can't access them. Second, move any sentimental items or irreplaceable possessions out of the house. Family photos, your grandmother's jewelry, anything you don't want potentially destroyed or missing. Nicole said you can store things at her place." "Yes," Naomi confirmed. "She's been helping me through this." Third, prepare yourself for his reaction. When we serve him on Friday, he's going to be shocked, angry, and probably vindictive. You cannot engage with him. Don't argue, don't explain, don't let him manipulate you into feeling guilty. Just refer him to me." Patricia handed Naomi a business card. "This is my direct number. He tries to contact you, you don't respond. He shows up at your work or home, you call the police. The restraining order will be in place to protect you, but you have to be willing to enforce it. I will, Naomi promised. They spent the next 2 hours going through every detail of the case. Patricia drafted the divorce petition, citing specific instances of adultery and financial abuse. She prepared motions to freeze accounts and secure Naomi's assets. She coordinated with Detective Raymond Torres, who would handle the criminal investigation. By the time Naomi left the law office, she had a complete legal strategy and a timeline for execution. Friday morning, Trevor would be served with divorce papers at his real job. The accounts would be frozen before he could access them. The restraining order would prevent him from coming to their house. And Detective Torres would be waiting to question him about the missing money. Naomi spent that evening moving her most precious belongings to Nicole's apartment. Her grandmother's jewelry box, photo albums from her childhood, her father's watch, the quilt her mother had made, everything that mattered more than money. Wednesday, she met with the forensic accountant to review the final analysis. The number was actually higher than initially calculated. $214,000 stolen over 3 years and 8 months. Trevor had started small, taking a few hundred here and there. Then he had grown bolder, stealing larger amounts more frequently. Thursday, Robert sent his final surveillance report. Trevor had been to the apartment with Amanda every day that week. They had gone shopping for furniture for their Arizona house. They had celebrated Amanda's promotion at work with champagne and dinner at the most expensive restaurant in town. All funded with Naomi's money. That night, Naomi packed a bag and moved in with Nicole. She couldn't spend one more night in that house, pretending to be the oblivious wife. Patricia had advised her to be gone before the papers were served, to protect herself from Trevor's reaction. "You ready for tomorrow?" Nicole asked as they sat in her living room that evening. Naomi thought about the question. Was she ready to officially end her marriage? To set in motion legal proceedings that would expose Trevor's crimes? To stand in front of a judge and recount every betrayal? "Yes," she said firmly. "I'm ready." "He's going to try to contact you," Nicole warned. "Going to try to explain or manipulate or make you feel guilty. You have to stay strong." "I know." Naomi looked at her phone, where dozens of text messages from Trevor asked where she was. She hadn't responded to any of them. Patricia said not to engage. "So I won't." "What about Amanda? You think she knows what Trevor's been doing? The stealing?" Naomi had wondered that herself. The emails between Trevor and Amanda never mentioned the stolen money specifically, but they discussed their future plans in detail. Plans that required significant funds neither of them legitimately had. "I don't know if she knew about the stealing," Naomi said slowly. "But she knew he was married. Knew he was lying to me every day. That makes her complicit enough." Nicole nodded. "What are you going to do about her?" "Nothing directly. But her name is in all the police reports. She benefited from stolen money. She's going to face consequences even if they're just professional." "Good." Nicole squeezed Naomi's hand. "You deserve justice, Naomi. For all of it." That night, Naomi barely slept. She kept checking her phone, watching Trevor's messages grow more frantic. By midnight, he had called 15 times and sent 30 texts. "Where are you? Naomi, please answer me. I'm worried about you. Did something happen? Please come home." Lies. All lies. He wasn't worried about her. He was worried about losing control. About his plans falling apart. At 6 a.m., Naomi's phone rang. Patricia's number. "It's done," Patricia said. "The papers are being served at his office in 1 hour. The accounts are frozen. The restraining order is active. Detective Torres is on standby. Are you somewhere safe?" "I'm at Nicole's." "Good. Stay there. Don't go to work today. Don't go anywhere Trevor might look for you. Let him have his reaction without an audience." "Okay," Naomi agreed. She hung up and looked at Nicole, who had emerged from her bedroom in pajamas. "It's happening. They're serving him in an hour." Nicole made coffee while they waited. Neither of them spoke much. There was nothing left to say. Everything that could be prepared had been prepared. Now they just had to wait for Trevor's world to explode. At 7:45, Patricia sent a text. "Papers served. He's in shock. Tried to call you. Don't answer." Naomi's phone immediately started ringing. Trevor's name flashed on the screen. She silenced it. 10 minutes later, another call. Then another. Then texts flooded in. "What is this? Call me right now. Naomi, this is insane. We need to talk. You can't just freeze our accounts. This is illegal. Call me now." Naomi handed her phone to Nicole. "Put it away. I don't want to see it." Nicole took the phone and turned it off completely. "Good. Let him panic. Let him realize you're not the pushover he thought you were. By noon, Patricia called with an update. Detective Torres picked Trevor up for questioning. He denied everything at first, but the evidence is overwhelming. They're holding him for 72 hours while they build the case. What about Amanda? Naomi asked. Torres wants to question her too. She's been served with a subpoena. Her employer, Bennett and Associates, was notified about the situation. She's been suspended pending their internal investigation. Something fierce and satisfied bloomed in Naomi's chest. Good. There's one more thing, Patricia said. Trevor tried to access the accounts this morning. Found them frozen and went to the bank. They showed him the court order and refused to release any funds. He's effectively broke. What about the apartment? Lease is in his name, paid through the end of the month. After that, he'll have nowhere to go unless Amanda supports him. Naomi thought about that. Trevor and Amanda, suddenly facing the real consequences of their choices. No stolen money to fund their fantasy life. No escape to Arizona. No happy ending. Just reality, cold and unforgiving. Thank you, Patricia, Naomi said. For everything. We're just getting started, Patricia replied. This was the easy part. Now comes the real fight. Naomi hung up and looked at Nicole. For the first time in weeks she felt like she could breathe. Like the weight crushing her chest had lifted slightly. Trevor was in custody. The accounts were frozen. The truth was coming out. She had taken the first step toward reclaiming her life. And she wasn't going to stop until she had rebuilt everything he had destroyed. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for Monday morning. Naomi wore a navy blue suit and sat beside Patricia in the courtroom, her hands folded calmly in her lap despite the chaos raging inside her chest. Trevor sat on the opposite side of the courtroom with a public defender, looking haggard and desperate. He kept trying to catch Naomi's eye, but she stared straight ahead, refusing to acknowledge him. Judge Richardson presided, a stern woman in her 60s with silver hair and reading glasses perched on her nose. She reviewed the motions before her with careful attention. This is a motion to maintain asset freeze and restraining order in the matter of Washington versus Washington, Judge Richardson said. I've reviewed the evidence submitted by the plaintiff. Mr. Washington, your attorney may present your counterargument. The public defender stood, a young man who looked overwhelmed by the stack of evidence against his client. Your Honor, my client maintains that there has been a misunderstanding. The accounts in question were joint accounts, and he had every right to access them. The allegations of fraud and theft are exaggerated. Judge Richardson looked over her glasses at him. Exaggerated? The forensic analysis shows $214,000 transferred without the plaintiff's knowledge or consent. There are forged signatures on multiple documents. How is this exaggerated? My client was managing their finances. By stealing his wife's inheritance? Judge Richardson's tone was sharp. By taking out credit cards in her name? By selling her deceased father's car without permission? The public defender had no good response. We request time to prepare a proper defense. Request noted. However, given the severity of the allegations and the documented evidence of ongoing financial crimes, I'm maintaining the asset freeze and restraining order. Mr. Washington will remain in custody until the criminal investigation is complete. Judge Richardson looked at Trevor directly. Do you understand the charges against you? Trevor stood on shaking legs. Your Honor, please. This is all a misunderstanding. My wife is confused. We can work this out. Sit down, Mr. Washington. This isn't a marriage counseling session. This is a court of law and you're facing serious criminal charges. Judge Richardson turned to Patricia. Ms. Johnson, I'm approving your motion for exclusive possession of the marital home. Mrs. Washington may return whenever she chooses. Thank you, Your Honor, Patricia said. We'll reconvene for the criminal hearing in 2 weeks. Until then, Mr. Washington, you're remanded to custody. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down. Trevor tried to call out to Naomi as the bailiffs led him away, but she was already walking out of the courtroom with Patricia. That went well, Patricia said once they were in the hallway. The judge saw right through his manipulation attempts. What happens now? Naomi asked. Now we build the divorce case while the criminal investigation continues. In the meantime, you can go home. The house is legally yours until the divorce is finalized. Oh, the word felt strange. Could she really go back to that house full of lies? Could she sleep in the bed she had shared with Trevor? Walk through rooms where he had deceived her for years? I don't know if I can, Naomi admitted. Patricia nodded understanding. Take your time. But Naomi, at some point you're going to have to reclaim your space. Don't let him take your home from you too. That afternoon, Nicole drove Naomi to the house. They sat in the driveway for several minutes, Naomi staring at the brick colonial that had been her home for 5 years. You want me to come in with you? Nicole offered. Please. They walked through the front door together. Everything looked the same. The furniture they had picked out together. The photos on the walls showing a happy couple who didn't exist. The kitchen where Trevor had kissed her goodbye every morning before going to his fake job. Naomi walked through each room, seeing it all with new eyes. The office where Trevor had kept his laptop full of lies. The bedroom where he had held her at night before meeting Amanda. The bathroom where he had gotten ready for dates with his girlfriend. In the master bedroom, Naomi opened Trevor's closet. His suits hung neatly, his shoes lined up on the rack. She pulled out his expensive watch from the drawer, the one she had bought him for their 5th anniversary. I'm burning all of this, Naomi said. Nicole raised an eyebrow. Legally speaking, maybe we should donate it instead. Fine. Donate it. I don't want any of his things here. They spent the rest of the afternoon boxing up everything that belonged to Trevor. Clothes, toiletries, books, electronics. Everything went into trash bags and boxes. Nicole called a donation center to pick it all up the next day. While they worked, Naomi's phone rang. A known number. She answered cautiously. Naomi? It's Amanda. Naomi's blood ran cold. She put the phone on speaker so Nicole could hear. I have nothing to say to you, Naomi said flatly. Please just listen. I didn't know he was stealing from you. I swear I didn't know about any of that. Amanda's voice was shaky, desperate. He told me you were separated. That you were getting divorced. I never would have. Don't. Naomi's voice was ice. Don't you dare pretend you didn't know. You knew he was married. You saw him leave to go home to me every night. You helped him lie for 3 years. But the money I didn't know. You benefited from it. You lived in an apartment paid with my inheritance. You wore jewelry bought with stolen money. You went to Paris on my grandmother's legacy. Naomi's hands shook with rage. You knew enough. I lost my job because of this, Amanda said, and now there was anger in her voice. Bennett and Associates fired me. My career is ruined. All because Trevor lied. You ruined your own career when you decided to sleep with a married man. Naomi cut her off. Trevor lied to both of us, but you chose to believe those lies because they were convenient. Because they gave you what you wanted. I'm sorry, Amanda whispered. I really am sorry. I don't care if you're sorry. I care that you face consequences for your choices. And you will. Naomi hung up. Nicole stared at her. Damn. That was ice cold. She deserved it. Naomi tossed her phone aside. She wants sympathy? She wants me to comfort her because she lost her job? She helped destroy my life for 3 years. You think she really didn't know about the stealing? Naomi considered it. The emails had never explicitly mentioned the theft. But they had discussed expensive plans, luxury purchases, trips abroad. Amanda had to have wondered where the money came from. Even if she didn't know the specifics, she knew something was wrong, Naomi said. And she chose not to ask questions because asking questions would have ruined her fantasy. That evening, after Nicole left, Naomi sat alone in her reclaimed house. She had changed the locks, removed every trace of Trevor, taken back her space, but it still felt haunted by his lies. Her phone buzzed with a message from Patricia. Amanda's attorney contacted me. She wants to negotiate, offering testimony against Trevor in exchange for immunity from civil suit. Naomi stared at the message. Amanda wanted protection, wanted to avoid consequences by turning on Trevor. She typed back, what would her testimony add to our case? Patricia responded immediately, details about timeline, his statements to her, possibly evidence we don't have yet. Could be valuable for the criminal case. Naomi thought about it. Part of her wanted to reject any deal with Amanda on principle. But the rational part, the part that wanted Trevor to pay for everything he had done, saw the value. What do you recommend? Naomi texted. Let her testify. Get everything we can to bury Trevor. Then decide about the civil suit after. Naomi made her decision. Okay. But I make no promises about the lawsuit. Understood. I'll set up the deposition for next week. The following Wednesday, Naomi sat across from Amanda in Patricia's conference room. This was the first time she had seen the woman who had helped destroy her marriage in person, outside of photographs and surveillance footage. Amanda was pretty in a delicate way, with blonde hair and wide blue eyes that were currently red from crying. She looked terrified, her hands shaking as she signed the deposition agreement. Patricia started the recording. "Please state your name for the record." "Amanda Foster," she said quietly. "And your relationship to Trevor Washington?" "We were in a relationship for 3 years and 2 months." "You were aware he was married?" Amanda hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." "Please answer verbally for the recording." "Yes, I knew he was married." Patricia led her through the timeline. Amanda confirmed that Trevor had told her he and Naomi were separated and planning to divorce. She had believed him because she wanted to believe him. Over 3 years, they had built a life together funded by money Trevor said came from his lawyer's salary and investments. "Did you ever question where the money came from?" Patricia asked. "Sometimes," Amanda admitted. "He was very generous, but he said he was good at investing. I wanted to trust him." "Did you ever see bank statements or financial records?" "No. He handled all the finances for our apartment and trips." "Were you aware he was planning to move to Arizona with you?" "Yes. He said once his divorce was final, we could start fresh." Patricia pulled out printouts of emails. "These are communications between you and Mr. Washington discussing houses in Arizona. Did you help look for properties?" "Yes," Amanda whispered, staring at the emails like they might bite her. "Were you aware these houses were being purchased with money stolen from his wife?" "No. I swear I didn't know." Amanda looked at Naomi for the first time. "I thought it was his money." "He said it was his money from his job and investments." Naomi met her gaze without emotion. She didn't believe Amanda was completely innocent, but she did believe Amanda hadn't known about the theft. Amanda had been willfully blind, choosing comfort over truth. "What happened when you found out?" Patricia continued. "I confronted him. He admitted he had been lying about the divorce. Said you refused to let him go, that you were holding him hostage financially." Amanda's voice broke. "He made it sound like you were the villain. And you believed him?" "I wanted to. I loved him." Amanda wiped her eyes. "But then I got the subpoena. Then I read the police report. Then I saw all the evidence. And I realized he had been lying to both of us." Patricia made notes. "Are you willing to testify to all of this in court?" "Yes. I'll tell them everything I know." The deposition continued for 2 more hours. Amanda provided details about Trevor's spending habits, his lies, his manipulation tactics. She confirmed dates and locations, corroborating Robert's surveillance reports. By the end, Patricia had enough testimony to significantly strengthen the criminal case against Trevor. When it was over, Amanda stood on shaking legs. She looked at Naomi one more time. "I really am sorry. For all of it." Naomi stood too. She wanted to rage at this woman. Wanted to list every way Amanda had contributed to the destruction of her life. But looking at Amanda now, jobless, heartbroken, facing her own consequences, Naomi felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "You should be sorry," Naomi said quietly. "But your apology doesn't change anything. You made choices. Now you live with them." Amanda nodded and left the conference room, her shoulders hunched with shame. Patricia looked at Naomi with respect. That took strength. Most people would have screamed at her. "Screaming would give her too much power," Naomi said. "She doesn't deserve my anger. She deserves to be forgotten." As Naomi drove home that evening, she felt something shift inside her. The rage that had sustained her through the last few weeks was transforming into something else. Something colder and more purposeful. She wasn't interested in revenge anymore. She was interested in justice. And justice meant making sure Trevor faced every consequence he had earned. The divorce trial began on a cold November morning. Naomi sat beside Patricia at the plaintiff's table, wearing a charcoal gray suit that Nicole had helped her pick out. Professional, confident, unshakable. Trevor sat across the courtroom with his attorney, a sharp woman named Caroline Brooks who specialized in defending difficult cases. Brooks had replaced the public defender once Trevor's parents had scraped together money for private counsel. Judge Richardson presided again, her expression impassive as she reviewed the case files before her. "This is Washington versus Washington, petition for divorce with allegations of adultery and financial misconduct. Ms. Johnson, you may begin." Patricia stood and presented the case methodically. She entered into evidence the forensic accountant's report showing the stolen funds. She presented Robert's surveillance photographs showing Trevor and Amanda together. She submitted the forged signatures and fraudulent loan documents. Each piece of evidence was another nail in Trevor's defense. When it was time for testimony, Naomi took the stand. She had practiced this with Patricia dozens of times, but her heart still raced as she placed her hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. Patricia led her through the chronology. The 8-year marriage. The discovery at Trevor's supposed workplace. The financial investigation. The systematic theft. The planned abandonment. Mrs. Washington, can you describe how you felt when you discovered your husband's deception? Patricia asked. Devastated, Naomi said clearly. Not just because of the affair, but because everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. My husband's job, our financial situation, our future plans, none of it was real. Did you have any indication before that day that something was wrong? No. Trevor was careful. He maintained the lie perfectly. I trusted him completely. Patricia entered more evidence. Emails from Trevor to Amanda discussing their future, his fake calendar appointments, the apartment lease. Each document painted a picture of calculated deception spanning years. Caroline Brooks cross-examined with aggression. Mrs. Washington, isn't it true that you and your husband had marital problems before this alleged discovery? No, Naomi said firmly. Our marriage seemed fine because I didn't know I was living a lie. You never suspected infidelity? No. You never questioned your husband about his whereabouts or finances? I trusted my husband. That was my mistake. Brooks tried to suggest Naomi had been negligent in managing their finances, that she should have noticed the missing money. Patricia objected repeatedly, and Judge Richardson sustained most of them. Mrs. Washington is the victim here, Ms. Brooks, the judge said sharply. She didn't forge signatures. She didn't steal money. She didn't commit fraud. Move on to relevant questions. When Trevor took the stand, he tried the charm offensive. Smiled at the judge, spoke in reasonable tones, positioned himself as a man who had made mistakes but deserved understanding. I never meant to hurt Naomi, Trevor said, his voice thick with false emotion. I love my wife. I just got confused. Amanda and it was a mistake. A terrible mistake I regret every day. Patricia demolished him on cross-examination. Mr. Washington, you testified that your relationship with Amanda Foster was a mistake. A mistake that lasted 3 years? It was complicated. Yes or no, Mr. Washington? Did your affair last 3 years? Yes, but... And during those 3 years, did you tell your wife about this mistake? No, I didn't want to hurt her. You didn't want to hurt her, but you stole over $200,000 from her? I was going to pay it back. With what money, Mr. Washington? You earn $55,000 a year as a leasing agent. How were you planning to repay $200,000? Trevor had no answer. Patricia continued ruthlessly. You forged your wife's signature on loan documents, correct? I needed. Yes or no? Yes. You sold her deceased father's car without her knowledge? Yes, but I needed the money for your apartment with Miss Foster? For trips to Paris? For jewelry and dinners and a lifestyle funded entirely by theft. I was going to fix it. By running away to Arizona? Patricia pulled out the emails. You were planning to leave in 3 months. To disappear with Miss Foster using your wife's stolen money. How were you going to fix it from Arizona, Mr. Washington? The courtroom was silent except for Trevor's heavy breathing. He looked at Naomi, his eyes pleading. She stared back without expression. No further questions, Patricia said. The trial continued for 3 more days. Amanda testified, providing details that corroborated Naomi's timeline. The forensic accountant explained the financial trail. Robert presented surveillance evidence. Caroline Brooks fought hard, but she had no real defense against the overwhelming documentation of Trevor's crimes. On Friday afternoon, Judge Richardson delivered her verdict. I've reviewed all evidence and testimony in this matter. The documentation is clear and comprehensive. Mr. Washington engaged in systematic fraud, theft, and deception over a period of nearly 4 years. He betrayed his wife's trust, stole her inheritance, and planned to abandon her with nothing but debt. Trevor's face went pale. In the matter of the divorce, I'm granting the petition. The marriage is dissolved. Mrs. Washington is awarded the marital home, all remaining marital assets, and full restitution for all stolen funds in the amount of $214,000. Patricia squeezed Naomi's hand under the table. Furthermore, I'm ordering Mr. Washington to pay Mrs. Washington's legal fees, court costs, and additional damages for emotional distress in the amount of $50,000. Additionally, I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. The evidence of fraud and identity theft is overwhelming and warrants criminal charges. Judge Richardson looked directly at Trevor. Mr. Washington, you didn't just betray your marriage vows. You committed serious crimes against the person who trusted you most. I hope you understand the gravity of what you've done. She brought down her gavel. This court is adjourned. Naomi sat still for a moment, letting the verdict sink in. She had won. Completely, utterly, decisively won. Patricia turned to her with a wide smile. We did it. Everything you wanted. Not everything, Naomi said quietly. Not until the criminal trial is over. The criminal trial was scheduled for January, 2 months away. The district attorney, Margaret Phillips, was prosecuting personally because of the high-profile nature of the case and the substantial amount of money involved. In the meantime, Naomi focused on rebuilding. She returned fully to work at her accounting firm, throwing herself into client cases with renewed energy. Her colleagues had been supportive throughout the ordeal, and now they celebrated her victory. Nicole threw a divorce party at her apartment, inviting their closest friends. They toasted to new beginnings and freedom from lies. Naomi laughed more that evening than she had in months. But beneath the celebration, Naomi was planning her next move. She had her house back. Her money would be returned once Trevor's assets were liquidated. Her name was clear. Now she wanted to make sure this never happened to anyone else. She scheduled a meeting with Patricia for the following week. I want to start a business, Naomi told her attorney. A consulting firm that helps women identify financial abuse and protect their assets. Too many women don't realize they're being manipulated until it's too late. Patricia's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. Your experience gives you credibility, and there's definitely a market for it. I want to offer forensic accounting reviews, financial literacy workshops, and direct consultation for women who suspect their partners are hiding assets or committing fraud. You could partner with divorce attorneys, Patricia suggested. We could refer clients to you for financial analysis before they file. They spent the next hour brainstorming business plans. Naomi felt energized in a way she hadn't since before the discovery. She was taking her trauma and transforming it into something meaningful. Something that would help others. 2 weeks later, Naomi filed incorporation papers for Phoenix Financial Consulting. The name represented rising from ashes, rebuilding from destruction. It felt right. She rented a small office downtown and hired a part-time assistant. Her first client was a referral from Patricia, a woman who suspected her husband was hiding money in offshore accounts. Naomi spent 3 weeks analyzing the woman's financial records. She found hidden accounts, suspicious transfers, and evidence of systematic manipulation. Armed with Naomi's report, the woman filed for divorce with a complete picture of her financial situation. You saved me, the woman told Naomi tearfully. Without your help, I never would have found any of this. More clients followed. Women who had been gaslit about finances. Women whose partners controlled all the money. Women who discovered, like Naomi had, that their entire financial lives were built on lies. Naomi helped each one with thorough analysis, clear documentation, and compassionate support. She understood what they were going through because she had lived it. By December, Phoenix Financial Consulting had helped 23 women uncover financial abuse and recover over $3 million in hidden or stolen assets. The local news ran a story about Naomi's business. From victim to victor, how one woman turned financial betrayal into a mission to help others. The publicity brought more clients and media attention. Naomi was invited to speak at women's networking events about financial literacy and protection. She developed workshops about identifying warning signs of financial abuse. Through it all, she prepared for Trevor's criminal trial. She met with DA Phillips regularly, reviewing testimony and evidence. The charges were serious. Multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, forgery, and theft. He's looking at 8 to 10 years if convicted on all counts, Phillips told Naomi. His attorney is pushing for a plea deal. What kind of deal? Naomi asked. 5 years with possibility of parole after 3 if he admits guilt and pays full restitution. Naomi considered it. Part of her wanted to see him stand trial, to watch him publicly face every charge. But another part just wanted it over. Wanted to move forward without looking back. What do you recommend? She asked Phillips. The plea deal guarantees conviction and restitution. A trial could result in acquittal if we get a sympathetic jury, though that's unlikely given the evidence. Phillips leaned forward. But Naomi, this is your decision. He hurt you. You get to decide how much fight you want. Naomi thought about Trevor in prison for 5 years. Thought about him losing his freedom the way he had tried to steal hers. Thought about him having years to regret his choices. I'll take the deal, she said. On one condition. He has to publicly admit to everything. Full allocution. Every charge, every theft, Every lie. I want it on record. Philip smiled. Done. The plea hearing was scheduled for mid-December. Naomi sat in the courtroom again, but this time she felt different. Stronger. No longer a victim waiting for justice, but a survivor who had already moved on. Trevor stood before the judge and read his allocution. I, Trevor Washington, plead guilty to 8 counts of fraud, 4 counts of identity theft, 6 counts of forgery, and 1 count of theft over $100,000. I stole money from my wife Naomi Washington. I forged her signatures. I betrayed her trust. I accept full responsibility for my actions. His voice cracked on the last sentence. Naomi felt nothing. Judge Richardson accepted the plea and imposed the sentence. 5 years in state prison. Full restitution to Naomi. No contact order permanent. As the bailiffs led Trevor away, he looked at Naomi one last time. She saw regret in his eyes. Maybe even genuine remorse. Too little too late. Naomi walked out of the courthouse into the winter sunshine with Patricia beside her. It's over, Patricia said. You won everything. No, Naomi corrected her. I survived everything. And now I'm building something better. Naomi listed them clearly. A partner who controls all the finances. Unexplained withdrawals or transfers. Resistance to joint accounts or transparency. Sudden lifestyle changes that don't match income. Secretive behavior around money. The key is trusting your instincts, Naomi said. If something feels wrong, investigate. Don't let anyone convince you that asking questions means you don't trust them. Trust is earned through transparency. Miranda nodded. You've helped dozens of women uncover financial abuse. What's the most important thing you want them to know? That it's not their fault. Financial abuse is manipulation and deception. Smart, successful, capable women can be victims because they trust their partners. But once you know the truth, you have power. You can protect yourself. You can rebuild. The interview aired on a Tuesday morning and went viral by afternoon. Naomi's phone rang constantly with media requests, potential clients, and women sharing their own stories of financial abuse. Phoenix Financial Consulting's website crashed from traffic. Naomi's assistant worked overtime scheduling consultations and workshop registrations. By the end of the week, Naomi had been contacted by 3 major news networks, 2 podcast hosts, and a literary agent interested in a book deal. This is overwhelming, Naomi told Nicole over coffee. I didn't expect this level of response. You touched a nerve, Nicole said. How many women do you think are living the same lie you were? They saw themselves in your story. Naomi thought about that. How many women were being gaslit about finances right now? How many had no idea their partners were stealing from them? How many would discover the truth too late? She made a decision. I'm starting a foundation, Naomi told Nicole. A nonprofit that provides free financial analysis for women who can't afford private consulting. I want to help everyone, not just those who can pay. Nicole's eyes widened. That's ambitious. Do you know how much work that involves? I know. But I have the resources now. The restitution money, the business income, the media attention. I can use all of it to build something that outlasts me. Over the next month, Naomi worked with attorneys to establish the Restoration Foundation. Its mission, to provide free forensic financial services to women escaping abusive relationships and to educate the public about financial manipulation. The foundation's first major donor was an anonymous benefactor who contributed $100,000. Naomi later learned it was Judge Richardson, using money from her family trust. Other donations followed. Women who had used Phoenix Financial Consulting. Corporations looking for charitable tax deductions. Individuals who had heard Naomi's story and wanted to help. By spring, the Restoration Foundation had enough funding to hire 2 full-time forensic accountants and open a free clinic 2 days a week. Naomi's first pro bono client through the foundation was a young woman named Brittany who worked minimum wage and couldn't afford private help. Her boyfriend had taken out credit cards in her name and destroyed her credit. Naomi spent hours analyzing Brittany's financial records, documenting the fraud, and helping her file police reports. She worked with legal aid attorneys to clear Brittany's name and recover her credit. I thought I was stuck, Brittany told Naomi tearfully. Thought I had to live with the debt because I couldn't afford help. You gave me hope. Stories like Brittany's kept Naomi going through the exhausting work of running both a business and a foundation. She hired more staff, developed more programs, and accepted more speaking engagements. 6 months after Trevor's sentencing, Naomi was invited to testify before a state legislative committee about financial abuse. She presented data from her cases showing how common financial manipulation was and how few resources existed for victims. Financial abuse is often invisible, Naomi told the legislators. No bruises. No police reports. No shelters. Women discover they've been victimized only after the damage is done. We need laws requiring financial transparency in marriages. We need resources for forensic analysis. We need education about warning signs. The committee listened intently. 2 months later, they drafted legislation requiring both spouses to sign off on major financial decisions and creating a state fund for financial abuse victims. Naomi was invited to the bill signing ceremony. She stood beside the governor as he signed the Financial Transparency in Marriage Act into law, knowing Trevor's betrayal had led to protections for countless other women. Meanwhile, the consequences of the scandal continued to ripple through Trevor and Amanda's lives. Amanda had moved to another city trying to rebuild her legal career. But the suspension from Bennett and Associates followed her. Firms ran background checks. They found the fraud case. They saw her testimony about the affair. Nobody wanted to hire a paralegal with that kind of baggage. Amanda eventually gave up on legal work and took a job as a secretary at a small insurance agency. Her dream of becoming an attorney died with her reputation. Trevor, in prison, had time to reflect on his choices. Naomi knew this because he wrote her letters. She never opened them. Her attorney reviewed them to ensure they didn't violate the no-contact order, then filed them away. Patricia told her the letters were full of apologies and self-pity. Trevor claimed he had been confused, that he had loved both women, that he had made terrible mistakes but deserved forgiveness. He still doesn't get it, Patricia said. He thinks this was about love and confusion. He doesn't understand it was about control and theft. Naomi didn't care what Trevor understood. He was her past. Phoenix Financial Consulting and the Restoration Foundation were her future. 1 year after the discovery that had shattered her world, Naomi stood at a podium before 300 women at a financial empowerment conference. She had been asked to give the keynote speech. 1 year ago, I learned that my marriage was a lie, Naomi began. My husband had betrayed me in every possible way. He had stolen my money, my trust, and nearly my future. I had a choice in that moment. I could let his betrayal define me, or I could define myself through how I responded. She looked out at the audience, women of all ages, all backgrounds, all facing their own financial challenges. I chose to rise. I chose to learn. I chose to help others. And in doing so, I discovered something important. Betrayal can destroy a relationship, but it doesn't have to destroy you. Pain can be transformed into purpose. Loss can become legacy. The audience gave her a standing ovation. After the speech, dozens of women approached Naomi with their stories. Women who had been where she was. Women who were currently discovering lies. Women who wanted to protect themselves before it happened. Naomi listened to each one, offered advice, and handed out business cards for Phoenix Financial Consulting and the Restoration Foundation. That evening, Nicole took her to dinner to celebrate. You've come so far, Nicole said, raising her wine glass. From the woman crying in the coffee shop to the keynote speaker at a major conference. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too, Naomi admitted. I never thought I could do any of this. I thought I needed Trevor. Turns out I was always strong enough on my own. More than strong enough, Nicole agreed. You're thriving. Naomi thought about that word. Thriving. It felt accurate. Her business was successful. Her foundation was helping women. Her speaking career was growing. She had found purpose in her pain. The only thing missing was personal happiness. Romantic love. But that would come in time. For now, Naomi was content with the life she had built. The friendships she had strengthened. The women she had helped. The impact she was making. Trevor had tried to destroy her. Instead, he had forged her into something stronger. And that was the best revenge of all. Spring brought new growth, literal and metaphorical. Naomi stood in her new office space, watching workers install shelving and paint walls the calming shade of blue she had selected. Phoenix Financial Consulting was expanding, moving from the small rental to a proper suite with space for her growing team. She had hired 2 more forensic accountants and a full-time victim advocate who helped clients navigate the emotional trauma alongside the financial recovery. The waiting list for consultations stretched 6 weeks out. The Restoration Foundation had grown too. They had helped 83 women in 6 months, recovering over $4 million in hidden or stolen assets. Local news covered their anniversary celebration, showcasing women whose lives had been transformed by their services. But the most significant change was internal. Naomi felt different, stronger, more confident in her own judgment and capabilities than she had ever been, even before Trevor. "You're glowing," Nicole observed during their weekly coffee date. "Seriously? You look happier than I've seen you in years." "I feel happy," Naomi admitted. "Is that strange? Given everything?" "No. It's healing. It's what happens when you stop defining yourself by someone else's betrayal and start defining yourself by your own strength." Naomi smiled. "When did you become so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just weren't ready to hear it before." Nicole leaned forward conspiratorially. "So, speaking of healing, when are you going to start dating again?" Naomi laughed. "I don't know. I'm not sure I'm ready. It's been over a year since the discovery. 6 months since the divorce was final. You're allowed to move on." "I know. But dating feels complicated. How do I trust someone again? How do I know they're being honest about who they are?" "You can't know for certain. That's the risk of any relationship." Nicole stirred her latte thoughtfully. "But you're smarter now. You know warning signs. You know how to protect yourself. And more importantly, you know your own worth. You won't settle for less than you deserve." Naomi considered that. She had dated a little in college before meeting Trevor, but nothing serious. Trevor had been her first real relationship, her first love, her first everything. Starting over at 34 felt daunting. "I'm just focused on the business right now," Naomi said. "Romance can wait." But the universe had other plans. 2 weeks later, Naomi was invited to speak at a fundraiser for a domestic violence shelter. The event was at an upscale hotel downtown, with a silent auction and dinner followed by presentations from various nonprofits. Naomi mingled during the cocktail hour, discussing her foundation's work with potential donors. That's when she noticed him. He was tall, with dark brown skin, close-cropped hair, and an easy smile that reached his eyes. He wore a tailored navy suit and was deep in conversation with the shelter director, listening intently to whatever she was saying. Naomi found herself watching him more than she should. The way he engaged in conversation. The genuine interest in his expression. The warmth in his laugh. She was so focused on him that she didn't notice when he finished his conversation and approached her table. "Naomi Washington?" He extended his hand. "I'm Jonathan Hayes. I heard your speech at the Financial Empowerment Conference last month. It was inspiring." Naomi shook his hand, trying not to notice how warm and strong his grip was. "Thank you. That's kind of you to say." "I mean it. Your foundation is doing important work." Jonathan gestured to the auction tables. "I actually bid on a consultation package you donated, hoping I win so I can learn more about what you do. You don't need to win an auction for that. I'm happy to talk about the foundation." They found a quiet corner and talked for the next hour. Jonathan was an architect who specialized in designing affordable housing. He had his own firm and was passionate about creating safe, beautiful spaces for low-income families. "There's a lot of overlap in our missions," Jonathan said. "You're helping women protect their financial stability. I'm helping families access stable housing. Both are about security and dignity." Naomi found herself genuinely engaged in the conversation, not just being polite. Jonathan was intelligent, passionate about his work, and asked thoughtful questions about her experiences. When dinner was announced, they naturally sat together. The conversation flowed easily through the meal, discussing architecture, financial systems, the challenges of running small businesses, their favorite books and travel destinations. Naomi realized she was enjoying herself more than she had expected. Jonathan was easy to talk to. He listened more than he spoke. He asked about her opinions and seemed genuinely interested in her answers. After her presentation about the Restoration Foundation, Jonathan was the first to stand and applaud. During the networking session afterward, he stayed nearby, occasionally catching her eye and smiling. At the end of the evening, Jonathan approached her again. "I know this might be forward, but would you like to have coffee sometime? I'd love to continue our conversation." Naomi hesitated. Dating. The word felt heavy with implications and potential complications. But looking at Jonathan, his hopeful expression, his patient waiting, his respect for her answer whatever it might be, she felt something shift. "I'd like that," she heard herself say. They exchanged numbers. Jonathan texted the next day with a simple message. "Coffee Saturday at 10? There's a great place near the park if you like walking." Naomi stared at the text for several minutes before responding. Sounds perfect. Saturday arrived with sunny skies and Naomi's nerves. Nicole helped her pick out a casual outfit. Jeans, a soft green sweater, comfortable walking shoes. Just be yourself, Nicole advised. If he likes you, great. If not, you're still amazing and complete on your own. When did you become a dating coach? When my best friend started glowing over an architect she met at a fundraiser. Nicole hugged her. Go. Have fun. You deserve this. Jonathan was waiting outside the coffee shop when Naomi arrived. He smiled when he saw her, and Naomi felt her anxiety ease slightly. They ordered coffee and walked through the nearby park. The conversation picked up where it had left off at the fundraiser. Easy, natural, engaging. Can I ask you something personal? Jonathan said as they paused by a fountain. Sure. I heard about what happened with your ex-husband. The trial was in the news. I wanted you to know I'm not coming into this blind. I understand if you're cautious about trusting people. Naomi appreciated his directness. I'm cautious. Trevor lied about everything for years. That does something to you. I imagine it does. Jonathan's expression was serious. For what it's worth, I believe in radical honesty in relationships. I'd rather have an uncomfortable truth than a comfortable lie. That's refreshing to hear. I'm divorced too, Jonathan admitted. 3 years ago. My ex-wife and I wanted different things. She wanted to move to New York for her career. I wanted to stay here and build my firm. We tried to make it work long distance, but it didn't. We ended things amicably. Do you still talk to her? Occasionally. We're not close, but we're not enemies either. We just wanted different lives. He paused. I learned from that relationship that honesty about what you want is crucial. Pretending or compromising on fundamental things just delays the inevitable. They walked for another hour, sharing more about their lives, their families, their dreams. Jonathan told her about growing up in a family of builders and developing a passion for architecture that served communities. Naomi talked about her grandmother's influence and how losing her inheritance to Trevor's theft had felt like losing that connection twice. But you turned it into something positive, Jonathan said. Your foundation honors her memory better than money in an account ever could. The date ended with Jonathan walking Naomi to her car. No pressure for a kiss, just a warm goodbye and a request to see her again. I'd like that, Naomi said honestly. They fell into a pattern of regular dates over the next month. Coffee on Saturdays. Dinner on Wednesdays. A museum visit. A concert. A cooking class where they both failed spectacularly at making pasta. Jonathan was patient with Naomi's caution. When she hesitated to share something personal, he didn't push. When she needed space to process her feelings, he gave it without making her feel guilty. I like him, Nicole declared after hearing about the fourth date. He sounds emotionally mature and respectful. He is, Naomi agreed. But I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. For some secret to emerge. That's trauma talking. Not everyone is Trevor. Naomi knew Nicole was right, but the fear lingered. She found herself analyzing Jonathan's words for inconsistencies, checking his stories for lies, looking for red flags that might not exist. After their seventh date, Jonathan gently addressed it. They were having dinner at his place, a converted loft in a renovated warehouse that he had designed himself. The space was warm and modern with exposed brick, high ceilings, and huge windows overlooking the river. Can I say something that might be uncomfortable? Jonathan asked as they cleared dishes. Naomi tensed. Okay. I notice you fact-checking things I tell you. Verifying my stories. Looking for contradictions. He said it kindly without accusation. I understand why, given what you've been through. But I want you to know that I'm being completely honest with you. Always have been. Naomi felt her cheeks heat with embarrassment. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Don't apologize. Your caution makes sense. I just want you to know that I'm not offended by it. Take all the time you need to trust me. I'm not going anywhere. The gentleness in his voice, the complete lack of defensiveness, made Naomi's throat tight with emotion. Trevor was so good at lying, she said quietly. He looked me in the eye and lied every single day for years. I didn't see it because I trusted him completely. How do I trust my judgment again? Jonathan moved closer and took her hand. By starting small. Trust me with small things and see what happens. When I tell you I'll call, see if I do. When I say I'll be somewhere, see if I show up. Build trust through consistency, not blind faith. What if I can't get there? What if I'm too broken to trust anyone again? You're not broken, Naomi. You're healing. And healing takes time. Jonathan squeezed her hand. I'm willing to be patient while you heal. But I need you to be patient with yourself too. Naomi looked at this man who had shown her nothing but honesty, respect, and understanding, who had listened to her story without judgment, who had waited for her to be ready instead of pushing. Thank you, she whispered, for understanding. They kissed for the first time that night. Gentle, sweet, full of possibility. Over the next few months, Naomi slowly let her guard down. Jonathan proved his reliability through consistent actions. He showed up when he said he would, called when he promised, introduced her to his friends and family, shared his financial records when she nervously asked to see them. This is probably crazy, Naomi had said when she asked. But I need to know you're being honest about your business and finances. Jonathan had pulled up his accounting software without hesitation. Not crazy at all. Here's everything. My firm's finances, my personal accounts, my tax returns. I have nothing to hide. That openness, that willingness to be completely transparent, helped Naomi trust him in a way she hadn't thought possible. By summer they were seriously dating. Jonathan had met Nicole, who thoroughly approved. Naomi had met Jonathan's family, his parents, 2 sisters and nephew, and felt welcomed immediately. You make Jonathan happy, his mother told Naomi at a family barbecue. I can see it in his eyes when he looks at you. Naomi saw it too. Jonathan looked at her with genuine affection, admiration, and respect. Not possession or control. Not manipulation or deception. Just honest emotion. It was terrifying and wonderful at the same time. One evening, sitting on Jonathan's balcony watching the sunset over the river, Naomi felt something settle in her chest. Contentment. The bone-deep certainty that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. What are you thinking? Jonathan asked, his arm around her shoulders. That I'm happy, Naomi said. Genuinely, completely happy. Good. You deserve to be happy. So do you. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn pink and gold. Naomi thought about where she had been a year and a half ago, devastated, betrayed, her world shattered. She thought about where she was now, successful business owner, foundation director, keynote speaker, and woman in a healthy relationship with a good man. The journey from one to the other had been painful and difficult. But it had also been necessary. She had learned her worth, discovered her strength, built something meaningful from her pain. And now, finally, she was allowing herself to be happy again. Not despite what Trevor had done to her, but because of what she had done for herself afterward. She had risen from the ashes. And she was still rising. 18 months after discovering Trevor's betrayal, Naomi sat in a television studio in New York City. The producers of a national morning show wanted to do a follow-up segment on her story, focusing on the success of Phoenix Financial Consulting and the Restoration Foundation. You've helped over 200 women recover more than $12 million in hidden or stolen assets, the host said, reading from her notes with amazement. That's extraordinary. The need is extraordinary, Naomi responded. Financial abuse is far more common than people realize. We're just scratching the surface. The segment aired the following morning, reaching millions of viewers. Naomi's phone exploded with messages, media requests, potential clients, women sharing their stories, and donors wanting to support the foundation. One message stood out. It was from a literary agent in Los Angeles. I saw your interview. Your story needs to be a book. Would you be interested in discussing a book deal? Naomi called the agent that afternoon. Within a week, she had an offer from a major publisher for a book tentatively titled Rising Phoenix: How I Turned Financial Betrayal into Empowerment. The advance was substantial, enough to expand the foundation significantly and hire more staff for Phoenix Financial Consulting. Naomi spent her evenings and weekends writing, pouring her experience into chapters that balanced personal narrative with practical advice. She detailed the warning signs of financial abuse, steps for protection, legal resources, and emotional recovery strategies. Nicole helped her edit, offering feedback on tone and clarity. This is going to help so many women, Nicole said, reading a draft chapter. You're giving them hope and practical tools. Jonathan supported her through the intense writing process, bringing her dinner when she worked late and listening to her read chapters aloud to test the flow. You're going to change lives with this book, Jonathan told her one evening. Already have changed lives. But this will reach women who might never find your foundation or consulting business. The book was scheduled for publication in 6 months. The publisher planned a national book tour with events in 15 major cities. Meanwhile, Phoenix Financial Consulting continued to thrive. Naomi had expanded to a team of 8, 5 forensic accountants, 2 victim advocates, and an office manager. They had moved to an even larger office space with conference rooms for client meetings and workshops. The Restoration Foundation secured a major grant from a national women's organization, allowing them to open satellite offices in 3 additional cities. Each office was staffed with local forensic accountants who provided free services to women in need. Naomi hired Brittany, the young woman who had been her first pro bono client, as the foundation's client coordinator. Brittany had rebuilt her credit, completed a business certificate, and wanted to help other women the way she had been helped. "You changed my life," Brittany told Naomi on her first day. "Now I want to pay that forward." The foundation's annual gala was scheduled for October. It had grown from a small fundraiser to a major event with 300 attendees, including local politicians, business leaders, and media personalities. Naomi stood at the podium in a deep emerald gown, looking out at the crowd. 2 years ago she had been crying in a coffee shop, her world shattered. Now she was addressing hundreds of supporters about the impact they were making together. "When I discovered my husband's betrayal," Naomi began, "I had a choice. Let it destroy me or let it define my purpose. I chose purpose. But I couldn't have built any of this alone. Every person in this room has contributed to helping women reclaim their financial independence and dignity." She detailed the foundation's achievements: 217 women helped, $14 million recovered, 3 new office locations, partnerships with 50 domestic violence shelters and legal aid organizations. "But numbers don't tell the whole story," Naomi continued. "The real story is in the women we've helped. Women like Brittany, who came to us drowning in fraudulent debt and is now our client coordinator. Women like Maria, who discovered her husband had been stealing her disability payments and now volunteers as a peer counselor. Women like Catherine, who learned her business partner was embezzling and now runs a successful company with proper financial controls." The audience applauded. Naomi saw Jonathan in the front row, smiling proudly. Beside him sat Nicole, Patricia Johnson, Robert Mitchell, and Detective Torres, the team that had helped her when she needed it most. "These women didn't just survive financial abuse," Naomi said. "They transformed their pain into power. They took back control of their lives. And that's what we're fighting for, not just financial recovery but complete empowerment." The gala raised over $300,000 for the foundation. Donors committed to ongoing monthly support. Corporate sponsors signed on for the following year. After the event, Jonathan took Naomi to their favorite restaurant, the quiet Italian place where they had their third date. "I'm proud of you," Jonathan said, raising his wine glass. "Not just for tonight but for everything you've built." "I couldn't have done it without support," Naomi said. "Nicole, Patricia, you. All the people who believed in me when I was at my lowest. You would have found a way even without us. That's who you are. A survivor who becomes a warrior." They talked about future plans, expanding the foundation to 10 cities, developing an online course for financial literacy, creating a certification program for financial abuse advocates. "You're going to need more time," Jonathan observed. "Between the business, the foundation, the book tour, and everything else." "I know. I'm thinking about hiring a CEO for the consulting business so I can focus on the foundation and advocacy work." "That makes sense. You've built something that can run without you being involved in every detail." Naomi thought about that. She had started Phoenix Financial Consulting as a way to process her trauma and help others. But it had grown beyond her wildest expectations. It was time to let it evolve into something bigger. Over the next few months, Naomi worked with a recruiting firm to find the right CEO. She interviewed several candidates before meeting Rebecca Sullivan, a forensic accountant with 20 years of experience and a passion for financial justice. "I've followed your work," Rebecca told Naomi during the interview. "What you've built is remarkable. I want to help it grow while maintaining its mission and integrity." Naomi hired Rebecca and spent the next month training her on operations, client protocols, and company culture. By December, Rebecca was fully leading Phoenix Financial Consulting while Naomi shifted to a board chair role. This freed Naomi to focus on the Restoration Foundation, which had become her true passion. The foundation was helping women who couldn't afford private services, the ones who needed help the most. She spent her days reviewing cases, training new forensic accountants, developing educational materials, and speaking at events about financial abuse awareness. The book launched in February to strong reviews and immediate bestseller status. Naomi's book tour took her to 15 cities in 3 weeks. At each event, hundreds of women showed up, some sharing their stories, others seeking advice, all looking for hope. You made me realize I wasn't crazy, one woman told Naomi at a signing in Chicago. My husband kept telling me I was bad with money, that I was irresponsible. But after reading your book, I had his finances analyzed. He'd been hiding $200,000. Stories like that one fueled Naomi through the exhausting tour. She was making a difference, reaching women who might never have questioned their financial situations otherwise. In March, Naomi was invited to speak at a United Nations Forum on Economic Empowerment for Women. She presented data from the Foundation's work, demonstrating the scope of financial abuse and the effectiveness of forensic analysis in helping victims. Financial abuse is a global issue, Naomi told the international audience. It crosses cultures, economic classes, and educational levels. But the solution is consistent: education, transparency, and resources for victims to protect themselves and recover. The speech led to invitations to consult with international organizations about developing similar programs in other countries. The Restoration Foundation partnered with groups in Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia to replicate their model. Through all of this, Jonathan remained her steady support. He attended events when his schedule allowed, celebrated her victories, and provided quiet comfort after difficult days. One evening in April, they were having dinner at his loft when Jonathan said, "Can we talk about the future?" Naomi's heart skipped. "Okay. We've been together for over a year now. I know you're incredibly busy with the foundation and the book and everything else. But I want you to know that I'm serious about us. About building a life together." "I'm serious too," Naomi said. "I'm not proposing tonight," Jonathan clarified with a smile. "But I wanted you to know that's where I see this heading. When you're ready. No pressure." Naomi felt warmth spread through her chest. A year ago, the thought of marriage would have terrified her. Now, with Jonathan, it felt like a natural progression. "I appreciate you telling me," she said. "And for the record, I'm getting there. Maybe not tomorrow, but definitely getting there." Jonathan reached across the table and took her hand. "That's all I need to hear." They continued building their relationship alongside their careers. Jonathan's architecture firm won a major contract to design a community housing project. Naomi expanded the Restoration Foundation to 7 cities. "That was incredible," Jonathan said, kissing her cheek. "How does it feel to be officially award-winning?" "Surreal," Naomi admitted. "Sometimes I still can't believe this is my life." "Believe it? You earned every bit of it." They flew back home the next morning. Naomi had meetings scheduled all week: foundation board review, new hire interviews, podcast recording, and planning sessions for the annual gala. But first, she had promised to visit her mother, who had been following Naomi's journey with pride and occasional concern about her overwhelming schedule. Naomi's mother, Helen, greeted her with a tight hug at her suburban home. "My daughter, the award-winning advocate. Your grandmother would be so proud." They sat in the kitchen over coffee and her mother's homemade lemon cake. Helen had been Naomi's rock during the darkest days after Trevor's betrayal, never saying, "I told you so," even though she had never fully warmed to him. "How are you really doing?" Helen asked, studying Naomi's face the way only mothers can. Not the professional success. "Naomi. I'm good, Mom. Really good. Better than I've been in years." "And Jonathan? Things are still going well?" "They are. He's patient and kind and honest. Everything Trevor wasn't." Helen nodded approvingly. "He treats you the way you deserve to be treated." "I can see that." "I think I might marry him," Naomi said quietly. "Not tomorrow, but eventually. When I'm completely ready." "Are you scared?" Helen asked gently. "Sometimes. The idea of trusting someone that completely again is terrifying. But Jonathan makes it feel possible. Your grandmother used to say that strength isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward despite the fear." Helen squeezed Naomi's hand. "You've already shown more strength than most people ever will. If you decide Jonathan is worth the risk, you'll be fine." Naomi thought about her grandmother often. The money Trevor had stolen had been meant to secure Naomi's future. Instead, it had funded his betrayal. But in the process of recovering from that theft, Naomi had built something her grandmother would have valued more: a legacy of helping other women. "I wish Grandma could see what I've built," Naomi said. "She can. And she's proud." Helen's eyes were bright with tears. "I'm proud. You took something terrible and turned it into something beautiful." That weekend, Jonathan invited Naomi to his parents' lake house. They spent Saturday on the water, swimming and talking about everything and nothing. That evening, as they watched the sunset from the dock, Jonathan said, "I have something for you." He pulled a small wooden box from his pocket. Naomi's heart raced. "Before you panic," Jonathan said with a smile, "it's not what you think. Not yet, anyway." He opened the box to reveal a delicate silver bracelet with a small phoenix charm. "I saw this and thought of you," Jonathan explained. "Rising from ashes, becoming stronger, helping others rise too. That's who you are." Naomi felt tears prick her eyes as Jonathan fastened the bracelet around her wrist. "It's perfect. Thank you." "When I do propose," Jonathan said softly, "and I want you to be completely sure. No doubts. No fear. Just certainty that I'm someone you can trust with your heart." "I'm getting there," Naomi promised. "Closer every day." They kissed as the sun set over the lake, and Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in years, pure, uncomplicated happiness. The following month, the Restoration Foundation's annual gala was the biggest yet. 500 attendees filled the ballroom. The event raised over $600,000, enough to fund expansion to 5 more cities. During her speech, Naomi announced a new initiative, the Phoenix Scholarship Fund, which would provide financial support for women returning to school or starting businesses after leaving abusive relationships. "Financial independence is crucial for safety," Naomi told the crowd. "Women often stay in abusive situations because they can't afford to leave. The scholarship fund will help remove that barrier." The announcement received enthusiastic applause and immediate donor commitments. After the event, Naomi stood with her core team, Nicole, Patricia, Robert, Rebecca Sullivan, and now Brittany, and looked at what they had built together. "We've come a long way from that first meeting in Patricia's office," Naomi said. "You've come a long way," Patricia corrected. "We just helped you get there." "No," Naomi said firmly. "We did this together. Every woman we've helped, every dollar we've recovered, every system we've changed, that's teamwork." Nicole raised her glass. "To teamwork." And to Naomi, who turned the worst day of her life into the best work of her life. They toasted and laughed and shared stories late into the night. December brought unexpected news. The district attorney called to inform Naomi that Trevor was being transferred to a minimum security facility for his final year of incarceration. He would be eligible for work release and could potentially be out in 9 months with good behavior. "How do you feel about that?" the DA asked. Naomi considered the question. 2 years ago, the thought of Trevor being released would have terrified her. Now she felt nothing but indifference. "It doesn't matter," she said honestly. "Trevor is my past. My future has nothing to do with him." "That's healthy," the DA said approvingly. Not many victims reached that point of closure. But Naomi realized it wasn't closure she felt. It was transcendence. She had moved so far beyond Trevor's betrayal that his existence barely registered in her consciousness anymore. Christmas Eve, Jonathan's family hosted a gathering at their home. Naomi had become comfortable with his family over the past year and a half, appreciating their warmth and inclusion. After dinner, Jonathan's mother pulled Naomi aside. "Can I show you something?" She led Naomi to her study and pulled out a photo album. Inside were pictures of Jonathan's late grandmother. "She passed 5 years ago," Jonathan's mother said. "But before she died, she gave me her engagement ring and made me promise to give it to Jonathan when he found someone worthy of it." She opened a small box to reveal a beautiful vintage ring, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds in an Art Deco setting. "I'm not showing you this to pressure you," she continued. "I'm showing you because I want you to know that when Jonathan proposes, and he'll be offering you this ring. And I want you to know it comes with our blessing and our certainty that you're the right woman for our son." Naomi felt overwhelmed by the gesture. "Thank you. That means everything. You've been through so much, Naomi. But you've emerged stronger and more compassionate. Jonathan is lucky to have found you." As the year ended, Naomi took stock of her life. The foundation was thriving. The business was successful. Her book continued to sell and help women worldwide. Her relationship with Jonathan was steady and healthy. Most importantly, she had healed. The wounds Trevor had inflicted were now scars, reminders of what she had survived, but no longer sources of active pain. New Year's Eve, Naomi and Jonathan attended a charity gala. As midnight approached, they stood on a balcony overlooking the city lights. "What are you hoping for this year?" Jonathan asked. Naomi thought about it. A year ago she would have said professional milestones, expanding the foundation, hitting book sales targets, winning awards. But now her priorities had shifted. "Balance," she said. "I want to keep doing this important work, but I also want to live my life. Build relationships. Experience joy. Not just survive but truly thrive. That sounds perfect, Jonathan said. As the countdown began, Naomi felt a sense of peace. She had spent 2 years rebuilding from devastation, had transformed betrayal into purpose, had helped hundreds of women reclaim their power. But now it was time to also reclaim her own personal happiness. The crowd counted down. 5, 4, 3, 1. Jonathan kissed her as fireworks exploded over the city. Happy New Year, Naomi. Happy New Year, she replied, meaning it with every fiber of her being. 6 months later, Naomi stood in her office reviewing the foundation's latest impact report. They had now helped over 600 women across 17 cities. The scholarship fund had awarded 50 grants. The online financial literacy platform had 15,000 active users. Her phone rang. Jonathan's number. Hey, she answered. What's up? Can you meet me at the park? Our usual spot by the fountain? No. I have a meeting in an hour. This is important. Please? Something in his voice made Naomi agree. She drove to the park where they had their first real date, finding Jonathan waiting by the fountain in a suit instead of his usual casual wear. What's going on? Naomi asked, suddenly nervous. Jonathan took both her hands. 2 years ago, I met a woman at a fundraiser. She was brilliant and passionate and beautiful, but she was also wounded, healing from a betrayal that would have destroyed most people. Naomi's heart began to race. I watched her transform that wound into a mission, Jonathan continued. Watched her help hundreds of women. Watched her become not just a survivor, but a warrior. And I fell in love with her strength, her compassion, and her unwavering commitment to making the world better. He dropped to one knee, pulling out the Art Deco ring his grandmother had left. Naomi Washington, you've shown me what real strength looks like. What genuine kindness means. What it means to rise from ashes and become something even more beautiful. Will you marry me? Naomi looked down at this man who had been patient with her healing, supportive of her mission, and honest in all their interactions. Who had proven through consistent actions that he was worthy of trust. The fear she had carried for so long dissolved. In its place was certainty. Yes, she said, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I'll marry you. Jonathan slipped the ring on her finger and stood to kiss her. Around them, people who had been watching applauded. That evening, Naomi called her mother, Nicole, and her team to share the news. Everyone celebrated, already planning engagement parties and wedding details. But what Naomi felt most was gratitude. Gratitude for the journey that had brought her here. For the betrayal that had nearly destroyed her but instead forged her into something stronger. For the people who had supported her. For the women she had helped. For this second chance at love with a good man. Trevor had tried to take everything from her. Instead, he had given her the opportunity to discover her true strength and purpose. She had risen from the ashes of his betrayal. And now, standing in her office looking at the engagement ring on her finger and the impact report showing hundreds of women helped, Naomi understood something profound. The best revenge wasn't just survival. It was building a life so full of meaning, purpose, and genuine happiness that the person who tried to destroy you became completely irrelevant. Trevor was somewhere serving the remainder of his sentence, his life defined by his crimes and failures. Naomi was here, engaged to a wonderful man, running a successful business and foundation, making a real difference in the world. She had won. Not by destroying him, but by creating something beautiful from the ruins he left behind. And that victory was sweeter than any revenge could ever be. Epilogue, 5 years later. Naomi stood backstage at a TED conference, about to give a talk on financial abuse awareness. She wore a navy dress and her grandmother's pearls. On her left hand, alongside her wedding band, sat the sapphire engagement ring Jonathan had given her 3 years ago. They had married in a small ceremony surrounded by family and friends. Had bought a house together, one they both owned equally with complete financial transparency. Had built a life based on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. The Restoration Foundation now operated in 35 cities across the country and had international partnerships in 12 countries. They had helped over 2,000 women recover more than $80 million. The scholarship fund had awarded 300 grants. Phoenix Financial Consulting, under Rebecca's leadership, had grown to 50 employees across multiple offices. Naomi had written a second book about financial literacy for young adults. She served on boards of 3 national organizations focused on economic empowerment. And in her spare time she was raising her daughter, 1-year-old Grace Helen Hayes, named for her grandmother and great-grandmother.